So how's that new year, new you working out? Have you risen? Have you started building? Have you been building yourself? Have you been building others? As an extension of last week's invitation, I'd like to encourage each of you after worship services tonight and other worship services going forward, when you're talking with each other, ask each other, with whoever you're talking to, what can I do to pray for you? Praying is the easiest thing, and it's the most powerful thing and effective thing we can do to help each other and to affect change and build each other up. And it's so easy, and everyone needs things that are prayed for. And whenever you're asked what can be prayed for you, don't say nothing. We all have things that need to be prayed for, and we all need things to pray for. We all can use some more prayer ammo. This week's congregational Bible reading comes from Luke chapter 2. And I'd like to focus this evening on a section on the end of that chapter, verses 41 through 49. Speaking of Jesus here, it says, "His parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem according to the custom of the feast. When they had finished the days, as they returned, the boy Jesus lingered behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother did not know it, but supposing him to have been in the company, they went a day's journey and sought him among their relatives and acquaintances. So when they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem, seeking him. Now so it was that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. So when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, 'Son, why have you done this to us? Look, your father and I have sought you anxiously.'" You know, I bet they were pretty anxious. I mean, they just lost the 12-year-old Son of God for 5 days. They went a day out, a day back, and then searched for him for 3 days. As a father of 2 young children, I get panicked whenever I lose track of them for more than a couple seconds. So 5 days, I can imagine they were pretty terrified. Well, Jesus answered them and said, "Why did you seek me? Did you not know that I must be about my Father's business?" And this right here is what I want to investigate. Father's business. What exactly was he talking about? Just reading this, it's very easy to just skim over this, and I think too often we do. In John chapter 9, verse 4, we see Jesus speaking. He says, "I must work the works of him who sent me, while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." There's a few things we can take from this passage. Number one, night here is talking about the destruction of the earth right before judgment. Another thing is that he's not the only one working. It says the night is coming when no one can work. So he's not the only one working here. And he says, and here work is having to do with light. It says, "I must work the works of him who sent me, and as long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." So these are important things to as we move forward. In John chapter 17 and verses 4 through 5, we see Jesus praying before his betrayal. He says, "I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. And now, O Father, glorify me together with yourself, with the glory which I had with you before the world was." We see here that Jesus completed the work of God, and then God glorified him. So now going back to the question that we asked earlier, or that we found out that there were other individuals working here in John chapter 9 and verse 4. Who are these other individuals that Jesus was alluding to? We can see in Matthew chapter 5 and verses 14 through 16 in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says to his disciples and the crowd, he says, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." So who are those individuals that are also working other than Jesus? We are. We all are charged with the same work that Jesus was charged. Jesus did this through miracles and through his death and resurrection, glorifying his Father in heaven. We too also are to glorify our Father in heaven by obedience and by good works and as being lights, as Jesus was, not hidden but clearly visible. If you haven't started your walk with Christ, there's no way to let your light shine. We see in John chapter 8 and verses 12, then Jesus spoke to them again, saying, I am the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but have the light of life. We see here that if you're not following Jesus, you're in the dark. How are you going to let your light shine? If you're following Jesus, you have the light of life. Romans chapter 6 and verse 4, therefore we were buried with him through baptism into death, that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. Do you want that light of life? Do you want to be able to pray as Jesus did? Oh, Father, glorify me together with yourself. The only way to do this is to be baptized, walk in a newness of life, and let your light shine. And whenever you leave here this evening, go about your Father's business, because night is coming, and no one else will be able to do any work. If you need to be baptized, or if you need anything from the congregation, please come forward while together we stand and sing.